Strategies for answering multiple choice questions. Focus on what is in the text. Try to set aside any previous knowledge you may have about the subject. Personal assumptions can blind the reader to the author's point of view and claim, so try to only gather conclusions from what is actually written in the passage, what the writing, language, or style implies. Go beyond explicit information to what is inferred. An inference is what you've gathered from the passage, and an assumption is an inference in combination with your personal bias. Also, sometimes outside information is helpful, but it can be just as hindering. The answer is based on the passage and the passage alone. Get the gist of the document. Make notes of the thesis and themes. Be aware of the word choice the author makes. The words the author uses reveals their point of view on the topic. Here's an example of a sentence in the introduction of the sample document for the focused and extended reading on the NYSTCE website. Ask yourself, why did the author write this? What are they getting at? Once you know the purpose of the essay, for example, if the author is trying to change your opinion on global warming, then you can better infer meaning from the language used and the structure of the essay. So if this sentence is at the beginning of the essay, then you can conclude this author is going to try to convince you that the effects of corn fuel are negative. Knowing who a text is written for can also help infer meaning. For example, if you know that text is a book report about polar bears, the audience would then be a teacher. However, an article about polar bears printed in National Geographic would have a much different intended audience. This can help you determine which aspects of the content were included or left out, as well as why. If you can identify the structure of the essay, you can identify where arguments or examples are and what is being addressed. If you can identify the structure of the essay, you can identify where the arguments or examples are and what is being addressed. Our suggestion is to skim, get a gist of the passage's main ideas, and then read the questions. Then go back carefully and read in and outside parts of the passage the question is addressing. Really, it's a waste of your limited time to carefully analyze the whole passage, since the questions are about the gist of the passage and specific parts. Main purpose or idea questions ask you to identify the topic or the reason the author wrote the passage or section. What was the author getting at? Why did they write this? Another question you might be asked is to summarize the author's attitude or point of view in one word. This type of question is asking you to infer the author's perception from the language and structure of the passage. Unless being directed specifically to a part of the passage, assume the question refers to the passage as a whole. Vocabulary, or the meaning of a word or phrase. An organization question might be which option best describes the way this passage is organized, and this type of question is asking for you to basically summarize the passage's structure. Supporting detail questions often list answers that are statements from the passage and are asking what the function of that particular part is. A wording for a question that might focus on a detail that is missing would be, which of the following is not found in the passage? Questions also may give answers that are true but not in the passage, so eliminate true details that are clearly not stated in the passage. This is the type of question where outside information may be hindering and not helpful. Here is an example of a detail question that has facts as answers, and though true, not all of these facts are in the passage. Though option A, the color of the screen, is true and referring to a physical description, this answer is not in the passage. Since the question asks about physical detail, the only answer can be the size of the calculator, since it is the only physical description actually in the passage. The title will often hint to the main theme or themes of the passage, so pay particular attention to the title. Look for keywords in the question, such as least, not, etc. Here's an example. Which of the following passages best shows an opposing view to a prior statement? We're looking for the best option, which means that all the options will be true. It is just the most accurate is the answer. Opposing signifies that we are looking for the opposite of something else. Also, prior is a clue in that you need to look at views stated before the answer is provided. These signpost words will help you determine what exactly the question is looking for. In the following example, repetition signifies that because a phrase is repeated, you have to look at what the phrase originally implies as well as what the repetition of the phrases does in combination to determine a singular meaning that is emphasized. Look at both instances of where this phrase appears in the original passage to find the answer. Anything in italics or bold is differentiated for a reason, so pay attention to these words. You already have a 25% chance of getting the answer right. When you eliminate 1, you have a 33% chance, and then eliminating 2 leaves you with a 50% chance. We suggest this process of elimination to help find the correct answer. Make an educated guess. Sometimes the questions will provide answers that are correct but not accurate to the question. For example, the answer to this question is B. Class structures, war, artists and writers, and even political alignment are all too narrow. The broad answer is cultural values because all of the others fall under culture. Here is an example where some answers are too broad to be the correct answer. C and A are irrelevant because we are not talking about casualties at all here or aesthetics. Option B is incorrect since the passage only discusses Hemingway and not all expatriates. The answer is then D. Once you've eliminated the irrelevant answers, then looking at the scope will help you differentiate between the other two options. Clearly, choice A is too broad.